there's been a few NBA players who have come out on their podcast and they've talked about how kids aren't playing enough. And I think it was Draymond who was like, it's the trainers. These trainers are keeping these kids from playing. They're making them train all day. Objectively horrible take. It's important to understand that kids are also not out on the street riding their bikes. So yes, you drive by the park, you get mad. Anybody in my generation, we drive by the park, nobody's playing. We're like, we're mad. Our generation was always at the park playing. But then you got to go, well, they're also not out on the bike. They're also not out on the street riding their bikes. Is it these bike trainers? All these bike trainers are taking the kids off the streets. No, there's two things going on. One is the obvious one. These things right here, phones, keep getting better. And so to spike your dopamine, you just wake up and you just get on that phone and you scroll. And then when you get bored, you get to go to the video games, and then you get bored and then you get to go to Netflix. And, ooh, I feel like I need some social interaction. Okay, well then I'll hop on the game and talk to my friends virtually. And like, you could stay, these kids can stay in their room all day and just be completely fine with it. By the way, awful for your health, awful for your mental, your physical health. It's not okay to do this, but kids they don't feel the need to get outside. My generation didn't have that, so we had something called real boredom. I would watch the same thing on SportsCenter over and over and over again. By the time I got to the fourth rerun of SportsCenter, I was like, I can't handle it anymore. I got to go outside. I got no choice. And so you get on your bike and you ride to your friend's house, and then it turns into a neighborhood game of soccer, and then it turns into a football game, and then it ends with a basketball game, and then it ends with a fist fight, and then you go home, and then you do it all again the next day. That's why kids were outside playing, is we had no choice. Now they have options. So that's the number one thing. It's not the trainer's fault. It's technology's fault. But then the other thing is, of the kids who actually, and by the way, the reason I say it's an objectively bad take and you can't even have that take is 90+% of kids can't afford a trainer. So to say that the parks are empty because everybody's training with a trainer is ridiculous. Less than 10% of kids actually go day to day and train with a trainer. Where's the other 90%? If you want to make that argument for those 10%, sure. Okay, where's the other 90? They're still not out on the court, which means they're in their house playing video games. Okay, but point number two of why kids are not outside playing at the park is, of the kids who are really serious, we have way too much organized basketball. So you got them in these weekend tournaments, and it's not the same weekend tournaments that we had. My weekend tournaments were local. You got blown out by 20. You blew out a team by 20. You maybe had like one really competitive game. You had parents in the stands, but you didn't have mixtape. You didn't have cameras. You didn't have scouts at every single game. Now you're going, let's say you're on a shoe circuit, you're at Nike EYBL. You got scouts watching. Your stats matter. Your stats can dude, there is NBA scouts who look at your EYBL free throw percentage as an indicator for how accurate you are. They put together the correlations and they say, actually, when you're accurate as a free throw shooter in your EYBL, that actually does predict your accuracy in the NBA, right? Obviously, the correlation is probably not perfect, but they are finding correlations between that stuff. So imagine just being a kid, you're 16 years old, and this is supposed to just be this fun weekend tournament. You got scouts, you got stats. I have to make this free throw. We're up 20. I have to make this free throw. I have to get my 15 points per game in order to be in the rankings. I have mixtape cameras. I'm up 20. I did my work. If I get cross on this play, that's the one that goes viral. That's my legacy, is that play. Like the pressure is just ridiculous. So then what happens is this neurochemical cocktail that we have, right? Adrenaline and dopamine and all these like neurotransmitters and hormones that need to be optimal to go play and go find flow state and go have fun playing basketball. These are drained. You can't have these highly competitive, high pressure games 4 games a weekend, 5 games a weekend. Then you come back on Monday, Tuesday, your competitive stamina is drained. Even like the peer hoopers, They get back on Monday, and I used to think about, this is probably what I changed about my mindset here. I used to think about, oh, well, their bodies are tired, right? Probably sprained an ankle, your legs are tired. That's why they don't want to go play. And then I'm realizing that's half the battle. The other half of the battle is they are mentally fried. Their competitive stamina is at an all-time low after these tournaments. So you can't get them to go play pickup Monday. You can't get them to go play pickup Tuesday. You probably have a practice on Wednesday, or maybe Tuesday, Thursday, you have your club practice. And in those club practice, you're going live against other high-level kids. So it's more competition. And then probably Thursday, you're already traveling across the country like you're an NBA player to then play again. You do this rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So the desire to go organize a pickup game or just go play ones or threes or fives, whatever, at the gym, it's at an all-time low. It's the system. If you want people to play more, you would have to restructure the system to say, all right, play 2 games, play 1 game a weekend, play 2 games. Play a tournament once a month, maybe play twice a month, but you're not going to have kids who have competitive stamina